Hey guys, hope all's good. Chris from Crystal Nutrition here, and we're back for episode 2 of the Average to Elite mini-series. So last week we looked at how to get a diet up off the ground in terms of the most important principle that we need to cover, and that is essentially energy balance. So that is your calorie intake. So now we're going to go into adding a second layer, and that is going to be your protein intake. Now, we covered protein quite a few times in a variety of different posts and videos, but today I'm going to just show you a concept and a framework I work off called the 3Ts, and then just have a little bit of a discussion around what's going to be most beneficial for optimizing muscle growth, recovery, and so on. Is it going to be your food, or is it going to be via supplementation? So the 3Ts stand for total, timing, and type. Now, total is essentially the total amount of protein you need on a daily basis. You would have heard terms being thrown around like 1 gram per pound, 2 gram per kilo, those type of things. So the reason why we do your protein requirements relative to your body weight as opposed to absolute figures is like a percentage perhaps, is very much because larger people essentially have more muscle and therefore perhaps require more protein to help rebuild and facilitate the remodeling of that muscle tissue. So that's why we work off, gram per kilo and so on. Now, the range to maximize muscle growth and muscle remodeling and repair is, you're looking at about 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of high quality protein. When we're looking at high quality protein, we're looking at protein sources that are very high in essential amino acids, and specifically the amino acid leucine, because as we know, that amino acids drives muscle protein synthesis and is the process of which we create new muscle tissue. So whenever we have protein in our diet, we're really looking to ensure it has enough leucine in order to drive adaptation and growth and so on. So that's why I don't necessarily like looking at protein intake on a total daily basis. So if you say give the recommendation of have 2 gram per kilogram per day, a 100 kilo rugby player would need about 200 grams of protein per day then. So if you just give that recommendation, you might just think, oh, I'll just have that all at once in like a massive steak or something like that, where we know that's not going to be optimal for muscle growth. The optimal model of muscle remodeling, adaptation, and growth is perhaps evenly distributing your protein throughout the day, and that's where the timing comes into it. So ideally we want to have enough protein with every single meal, and perhaps 4 to 6 meals a day, because once we know that once we have protein, enough of a dose, and again enough leucine in that meal, is going to trigger muscle protein synthesis, and we know that's going to stay on for a few hours before it switches off, goes back to baseline. So therefore, to maximize muscle protein synthesis throughout the day, we need to have multiple meals worth of protein, and that sort of covers the rationale of evenly distributing your protein intake throughout the day, and then perhaps having more protein before you go to bed, like a higher dose. And when we look at the recommendations here, is roughly 0.4 grams per kilogram of protein per meal, with perhaps 0.6 gram per kilogram before bed, just because we can keep muscle protein synthesis elevated throughout the night and help with muscle building and stuff while we sleep. So when we look at these figures like 0.4, 0.6, that covers a wide variety of protein sources, because not all protein sources are created equal. Some you can get away with having far less protein and still have the same anabolic effect. So this is the bit of the segue that looks at what's the most important thing. Is it supplementation or is it food? So what we got to think of, and it's quite a nice sort of term of, we don't eat macronutrients, we eat food, and it's usually more things in food than just protein that can amplify muscle protein synthesis and this training adaptation. So within the food matrix, you're going to get other nutrients that sort of interact with each other, and you're going to get some that directly stimulate muscle protein synthesis as well, and also like just modify the behavior of certain nutrients. So these things can essentially rescue the anabolic effect of a smaller protein quantity. So say for example, if you look at eggs, for example, if you say have 0.4 gram per kilo to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, then you think like, okay, that's about sort of 6 eggs, like that's quite a lot. when in fact you can, activate muscle protein synthesis by literally having half the quantity. So why is that? If you look on paper, it's got literally like 18 grams of protein, if that. But why is it still going to be able to, switch on muscle protein synthesis and this process of creating muscle just as well as a higher protein source? Well, when we think of it in the food matrix, especially like say the yolk, you kind of got three kind of key things there. You obviously got your lipids in there, your cholesterol, and you got your vitamins and minerals, and they can sort of either directly or indirectly like further enhance the enzyme called mTOR, which is then responsible for switching on muscle protein synthesis. So it isn't just the protein that directly activates it. There's other things that can really sort of help facilitate that as well and really support it. So this is the same for drinks such as milk. So when you compare whole milk versus skim milk, whole milk is going to have a greater anabolic response when you have the same amount. So whole milk will have less protein than say skim milk, but it has a greater effect to build muscle. So why is this? So it might be something to do with the fat content of the milk, and it's been shown that you can stimulate or maximally stimulate muscle protein synthesis by just having 8 grams of protein from dairy. So this is like 1 gram per kilo, sorry, 0.1 gram per kilo, where we're looking to have about 0.4 gram per kilogram on a per meal basis, because that's the recommendation. So I don't need to just look at the kind of face value of it, like I must have 30 to 40 grams of protein all the time, or 0.4 gram per kilo. Some foods that do have other sort of nutrients within it, i.e. most foods, will sort of lower the quantity of protein you would need within it, because again, it just rescues that anabolic effect. So when we're looking at these protein recommendations, they really are just your best bang for your buck options there. If you're following like say a plant-based diet and you're just not having meat, fish, dairy and stuff like that, then you're just gonna have to have a higher quantity in order to have the same amount of essential amino acids within that meal in order to stimulate muscle protein synthesis there. So hope this helps when it comes to planning, guys. Any questions, any queries, just drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you.